Welcome to the Wednesday, September 10th, 2025 meeting of the Middle School Building Committee. This meeting will be a hybrid meeting, both in person and online. We are in room A15 and we are on Zoom. So I'm calling the meeting to order. First thing I'll start with is any public comments. Seeing none, is there any public comments online? None. Okay. Move to the approval of minutes. Do you have the minutes for August 27th?
No minutes, we'll have to do it.
We'll do it the next meeting. Okay, that's perfect. We do have correspondence. We have an email from William DeGiulio dated August 11th, 2025, titled Middle School. We have received, just in case anybody is wondering, we have also received subsequent correspondence, which will be recorded at our next meeting on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday this week. So it's not time for the meeting. Okay. So anything we get will be recorded at the next meeting. Moving on, vote result and resulting action. So I will just say, first for me, I'd like to thank Lynn, the town, for doing a stellar job on the meeting. I thought the measures that they put in place made this the most functional processing of people through the crowd that I've seen in this town. And I've been to been here since what, 06, and I know a lot of people have been longer than me. But since that time, I've been to every town meeting, I think, except maybe two. And this one by far, I think, was the best facilitated one, given the crowd. I know some people have asked me about more patients for people with disabilities, but from what I had heard from and seen from things, there were special accommodations made. People just had to ask somebody in a green vest. Hopefully that's something to be learned from for the next time. But Lynn and the team and Rebecca, of course, did a marvelous job last night. I think she facilitated a wonderful meeting. So those are my thoughts. Anything else anybody wants to talk about?
And ditto, I mean, the logistics and the coordination were amazing. The tech team, DPW, police, fire, to see all the town departments working collaboratively to pull that off, it was really impressive. And of course, our town moderator is one of the best. Just runs a great meeting. It was a pretty complex meeting.
Quick question. I mean, there were some comments that a lot of people turned away because of the long line. But the descriptive of a lot of people, I mean, was it 10 people? Was it,
Right.
It could look like a lot when it might be 20, right? Did most people get in, do you think? Who wanted to get in?
I can say that, so where the line was starting by the door by the pool, I stood there for a good amount of time and I kept going back to see what was occurring there. The line moved steady. It was not like a waiting line. It was like if this was Disney World, it moved a lot faster than Space Mountain. So I don't know about that. What I can say is I was there early. I got there probably about 5:30. I was in the parking lot at 5 o'clock for a soccer game. I saw some older citizens arriving at like 4:45, I would say, and continuing through there. The crowd really didn't pick up till about 6:30, between 6:15, 6:30, I think. So I understand people have young children. I understand people have other things in their lives. I do think that a lot of it could have been attributed to that Rebecca did send out multiple things about coming early. And I think, again, understanding people have lives, that a lot of people chose to come between the 6:30 and 7 o'clock hour, and that complicated things as well. So I don't know if a lot of people turned around. I would just say
It's a sort of a,
I thought that it was a question of timing, but even with timing, I don't know, Nick, you guys were monitoring as well. I thought the line moved pretty quickly.
okay, good.
Yeah, for the venue we have to accommodate everyone, had to get moved as efficiently as we could. I wish more people heeded Rebecca and coming a little bit earlier, but
Oh, great.
for what it was, it ran pretty well, in my opinion.
Any other comments? Okay, resulting actions then, we do have one more election coming up. No time to rest, get the word out that people need to vote. The good thing about the next vote is that we only need 50% or just over 50.00001 or whatever it is over it, more than 50%. For it to pass. So that's on September 30th. It'll be an all-day ballot, just like our normal ballots, and
And that takes place at the community center, right?
yeah. And I think something we did when high school was running, we told everybody to try and find five. So try and find five of your friends to bring with you to vote. If everybody finds five, then we should be good and carrying on what we did at that town meeting.
Is there gonna be any early voting?
And then go ahead, Josh. What do you say?
I hate to say it, but what happens if this doesn't pass?
Then we have the same thing before. We have 12 days to
10 days.
10 days.
Yep. Yeah, it's considered a failed vote and we have 10 days to go back to the MSBN.
Right.
Yep.
Explain to them why it didn't pass, and then they would decide whether they are going to stick with us and try again, or
And there's absolutely nothing we can tweak about this. It's an exclusion or.
it's a debt exclusion, right? Yes.
That's it. Okay.
At that point, I think our only explanation would be we didn't think we got out the vote enough, or people had soccer or football or whatever else. If that day was a bad day, we picked it months ago. I don't know.
Yeah, that would have happened. We, asked for an extension.
Yeah.
And just what Armin was just saying, if we can convince them that we can get the vote out and we can get more people to show up for that vote, then hopefully we get granted that extension and we do that then again.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not worried.
Yeah, just.
Will the town send out like the text messages or the phone calls that we get sometimes for the elections? Saying that there's
Don't know,
like
but we
a
can take.
special election
Marty
coming
can
up,
ask me that,
parking
right?
and like that kind of stuff.
We'll check
I
it.
think sometimes they send it out for like the parking,
Mhm.
but just another,
I also think it's important that we get Lynn to send, if they're going to do that, send out what are the procedures for absentee balloting or as well, or
Mhm.
early voting at town hall.
That's what I'm wondering. I think there was a vote recently where you could go to the town manager's office and vote.
Right. The last couple of elections, they've allowed that,
Mhm.
since COVID, right?
Yeah,
So that's probably a question.
we haven't, I don't know how it's going to work because we're setting the ballot. I know we did it, we're setting the ballot on Monday. For the election. So, and already that's 15 days before.
Mm.
So I don't know how it'll work.
Yeah.
If it is early. If it, I don't know, we'll have to talk about it on Monday.
Ian?
Thanks, Armin. Question to the group. Do we need any messaging about what the debt exclusion is? Are we concerned that residents might not understand what this vote represents?
I would say it doesn't hurt.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt. I think the SMART group is getting that message out right now too, which will help.
I think there was I don't want to say misconception, but what I had heard before where people were saying. And this was my impression up until a year ago, that last night was to get this on the ballot. For the actual vote. And that's not true. If that's what people think, it's not the end of the world, because they'll still come vote. But yeah, I was trying to explain last night's amendment to people. And this will be hopefully easier, because people know Prop 2.5, so. But yeah, we should explain it and figure out a good way to get that out.
Ian, as finance director, is there any sort of way that you think we ought to be characterizing this vote?
I can write something up and share it with you, Marty, and see if we can put it on like a blurb.
Sure.
And could we get that, maybe put that blurb on that tax calculator page?
Yeah.
And on our middle school project page as well.
Yeah.
For people who are like really bought into the project, we can just, I would think we would just be saying like, this is the next step to move this thing forward, right? Like, and just sort of leave the debt exclusion questions for people who are really engaged on that issue. Does that sound right?
I don't disagree with you, Julie, that to keep the message simple, to vote yes is that, and to, listen to you, like last night with the amendment, I think a lot of people were just listening to their friends and trusted advisors to say, however they vote yes, I'm going to vote yes. So I think that's a good, simple message. What I'm concerned with, is that I think that's a great strategy, 100%. What I'm concerned is that there's going to be, as we've experienced for the last 3 years, misinformation, twisting of the truth, blatant accusations that members of this board and other boards are doing illegal stuff. When
Yeah.
it's just can't be further from the truth. So I just want like this board to be solid, and and other key people to be solid in knowing what a debt exclusion is. So this does
Yeah.
not go, and I think Ian, you will be vital, to that blurb, that this is not raising the debt ceiling on the town, the tax base. This is in addition to the tax base. This does not go to, this does not go to the tax rate that and that's what they're going to say is, oh, our tax rate's going to get even higher, and that's not true. This is outside of the regular tax.
Yeah, I don't want our messaging to be just trust us.
Yeah.
That could be for other
That
people.
makes sense. But I think for a lot of people who are like kind of bought in, but also spent a lot of time at last night's meeting, it's helpful to also just be like, we can say this is kind of like the final big hurdle, right? This is like I think it's helpful to people to say that too, that like this is the last time we really need you all to show up.
Yeah.
Did you guys have anything that you'd add on that? I mean, just from previous campaigns, or?
No, I think that the communication's been consistent and clear, you've shared, I think it's always, in our thing, been encouraged to just share accurate information, right? And, I think last night in your presentation, you highlighted the work that's gone into it, you highlighted the options that have been considered, you highlighted kind of the process that's taken this to this point. And I think that that's best practice. Cool.
Or anybody have anything else that?
I can run through just real quick what happens from there. Take 1 minute as far as, unless you have something
Is
else.
that gonna be on the schedule?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's what it is.
I got one more thing
Yeah.
on this. So one resulting action we have is that we need a vice chair for the committee. So is there anybody who would like to be the vice chair? Or would anybody like to nominate anybody for vice chair?
Can it not be Julie anymore?
It can be.
Why are we
Happy to do it.
We had a brief interruption, I suppose, in Julie's service, and when you left the school committee, but I think it certainly could be,
Oh, because she got reappointed?
I suppose. It was
Okay.
just a brief.
Well, I nominate Julie Ward.
Is there a second?
Second,
Any debate? We have to do this by roll call, so I'm gonna go 1,
Yes,
2,
yes.
3.
Yes.
yes.
Armin, yes. Julie, you voted for yourself?
I'll abstain, I guess.
Okay, Chris?
Yes.
Who else is I can't read that.
David, yes.
David, thank you. Sorry, I just can't read that. Okay, that's unanimous. Going on to the next item, updated schedule.
Yep, so as you mentioned, we have the debt exclusion vote on September 30th. From there, what happens is on a successful vote, then we move into a project funding agreement, also known as a PFA with the MSBA. And we move into the next module of the MSBA, which is Mod 6, and that is the detailed design. And that's where we obviously bring the design even further than where it is now. And that PFA allows the district to start billing for reimbursement for the next phases of the project. And I did let the MSBA know that we had a successful vote last night. And as soon as we have a certified copy of the minutes and the vote, which we should have at the end of next week, I'll submit that to the MSBA as well.
Did we hear anything from the MSBA, like kudos or no?
Just they're excited, congratulations.
Yeah, okay.
Just from Nina, who's the coordinator.
Cool.
Yep.
Is there anything else on schedule?
No, that's where we are for now, so we're just waiting for the 30th to come and then we,
So can I ask a question about the 30th? 30th
Yeah.
comes. Passes.
Mhm.
Is there 31 days in September? No.
No,
October 1st, are we ordering packages?
we're ordering packages?
Yeah, we're starting to order materials.
Yes, yeah, got it, right?
If we have to wait until then, yeah.
No, we start moving in and we start, setting up.
When do I get my shovel with my name on it?
It's already in the car.
Okay,
You
good.
can grab it.
Nah, that was just a joke from last night when Bobby was telling me he has a shovel from the high school project and we don't have one. So,
Alan.
We'll make sure you get one.
Yeah, if I can, the one thing, can everybody hear me?
yeah, we hear you,
The
Al.
one- The one thing that we do have is that we do have amendments to the Jones Winsett's contract, and we do have amendments to our contract that are in your hands now, I believe, and we do have a contract in hand with Chad for Fontaine. So that we would need to execute those before we can proceed into those phases of work also. So I would suspect that that would be something that would happen at the meeting on October 9th, the next school building committee meeting that we have. That we do have those authorizations to let us proceed into those levels of work.
Okay. So Chad has those now. There was 3 of them, right?
There's 3 of them, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're finalizing Fontaine's,
Okay.
but we'll have those in time.
Perfect.
Yep.
Cool.
So I just have a general process question. So I know that we're gonna hear a lot about turf, I think, and some other things that. There's still 400 people, at least 400 people in town don't want this to happen. And some good concerns, some I think not good concerns, but that's my opinion. When is the tweaking process and how much time do we have on that and kind of what can we work within?
Yeah, so we're gonna go through, once we have the vote, again, as I mentioned, we move into that detail of the design phase of the project. And that's where we start setting up meetings again, we start getting everybody back together, where we start really developing the design. We're gonna work on the interior of the building, all the exterior, and the site work as well. So anywhere between there and the construction documents, through that phase, we'll be working on it the entire time and, and developing the design as we go.
Is it like, well, but is it, as long as we stay within our budget, we can change anything, or are we still kind of locked into certain?
Yeah, so you have the scope, you're not changing the scope, so you're not, yes, you have to keep the scope of the building, but there you're kind of, maybe tweaking minor things. If we have to like move a wall within the building or something like that, or we want our classroom over here and a counseling room over here, those types of things, but you're not changing the scope. You're still sticking to the spaces that are allotted by the MSBA. But if you have some tweaks within the building, you're gonna be talking about finishes and different systems that we're gonna be using. We're gonna be working, we net a lot on, the mechanical piece of it and all that type of stuff, and really diving into what systems we want to use in the building, that type of stuff. But yes, things can be adjusted, throughout this process.
So that's more the building, but like, so the fields,
Same process, yeah, we're gonna be going through, and we're gonna.
those aren't MSBA anyway, right? So that's,
Well, no, it's MSBA still.
oh, I thought they weren't, okay.
No,
we
we're
we still get.
you still get reimbursement
We
from
get
it,
site
yeah.
work for them.
So what it is,
Oh,
so
gotcha.
you're gonna hit a cap on your site work.
Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah, so the cap is, it is what it is with the cap, so once you exceed that cap, everything else beyond that is on the town.
Okay,
And we already identified basically, where that cap limit is.
Yeah.
And so, you're not gonna be adding another field, you're gonna be making some modifications throughout the site work, throughout the process, and just developing those further.
Actually, I got some questions about some of that stuff on Monday about what were like, the extra costs within it. And quite frankly, a lot of the extra costs were around auditorium, which we all knew up front that we had discussed in multiple meetings about why we wanted an auditorium, what the size was. So that was about a third of that budget.
Yeah.
But then a lot of it was for things that were not anticipated for the project, but are necessary to make it safe. So the sidewalks that we're adding in on Williams, the road improvements, the left-hand turn lane, that's all
Yeah, the turn signal.
outside of the
Yeah.
scope of the project that's needed for safety reasons,
Yeah,
to get done. So there was stuff like that, site improvements. that-
yeah, they're called offsite improvements.
Which is why that Holyoke School is no way, shape, or form relevant to what we're experiencing here because they were on a very easy site to renovate. There was no children going to school at the time, so they could do the work, without worrying about hurting children or.
In that project, they didn't add any fields or any
Yeah.
spaces like, the exterior spaces. The demolition wasn't part of that, and there was a lot of factors that went into that.
And I think that if anybody's watching or listening or can point back to the source material, just go to the MSBA, right? Because they show what the costs are on the square foot per project, and we're lining up with what's happening across the state with the project. And we've said this multiple times in full transparency. Yes, when we built the high school in 2012, we were probably about $260, $270 per square foot. Now everybody's at over $700 a square foot. If you look at the costs over the last 12 years, it's a hockey stick.
Yeah, there's a great
It's
chart
not
on the
going down.
MSBA that tracks all the projects and it identifies what phase of the project they're all in, whether they've
Mhm.
completed construction. There's a lot of projects in our phase right now where we're just ending schematic design, that they're all right in that area, and you can see we're pretty much right in the middle average of the cost per square foot right now.
And you can't just pick one project out of the MSBA hat to try and compare it to this project.
Right.
Look at the averages, look at where we are in the graph.
Correct.
Yeah, Mark.
I think you described the off-site improvements, and then, as we were talking about this before the meeting last night. When we compare our space summary to the recommendations of the MSBA, we're pretty much in line across the board, with the exception of two areas that are really important to this community, and that's art and music. And so in the area of art, music, and the auditorium, those are places where we exceeded MSBA recommendations. But again, that's a reflection of our educational plan, which is where it all begins, really. And so we started with that ed plan, designed a building around that, and then designed some off-campus improvements in reaction and response to a lot of the feedback that we got from residents and from town departments. So, I mean, I think you can't compare the scope of one project to the scope of another. Just everyone is unique,
Alan's got his hand up there.
Who's that?
Alan's got his hand up.
Alan.
unless that's left
Yeah,
over.
I just want to bring it to your attention that we have done one estimate with two estimators. And they've been reconciled to come to where we are. And in those estimates, they've carried a design contingency because there's not so much that's been put in those documents yet that everybody can understand how this is actually gonna be put together and built. There are three more estimates that have to be done. There's gonna be one at design development, and there's gonna be one done at 60% construction documents and one done at 90% construction documents. And those also will be reconciled. So every step of the way, that design contingency comes down to zero by the time those 100% construction documents are finished up. So every step of the way, you're going to have a chance to look and make sure that we're still on budget, that we haven't exceeded that budget, that the thoughts that we put together for the schematic design estimate have been adhered to, and if they have not been adhered to, we're going to make adjustments to bring the budget back in line. So it's not going to, there's those checks and balances in place to keep this project on budget for the next, 9 to 12 months.
That's a good point.
Yeah, and those
Really?
cost estimates are done by outside independent estimators. There's two of them every time we do an estimate. And as Alan said, we come together as a group and we'll go through them and reconcile them.
Also, just on that process, Fontaine will be doing, all estimates in the next round and going forward. So the estimates, will be produced, right, by the company that's going to be responsible for delivering it. Within the budget that we're producing, we'll be using all of our relevant data. And to the comparison with Holyoke, as you stated, right, we actually built that project as well. So, as you said, the programs and spaces for all different MSBA projects are unique to those projects themselves. Ton of differences between here and Holyoke. As you said, it's on a site that did not have another occupied school on it. The construction duration was significantly shorter since the building was already demolished before our construction contract started there. As you said, there's no, there's no athletic field as part of that project. There's no off-site traffic improvements, just the approach to sustainability is completely different. There's, various things to make the projects apples and oranges. But as Alan said, we were the builder on that project as well, so we're bringing the same cost-efficient approach here. We'll have the same team of suppliers and subcontractors available to us. What made us able to deliver that project so cost-effective is what, you've chosen in the builder here. And as Alan said, at this point in the estimates, as part of that 151 total project cost, there's roughly, I believe, $17 million between design and escalation contingency and CM contingency that are built into the construction side. And at this stage, those contingencies, some will be transferred into hard scope in the building as the scope is finalized. As you stated, you go through design. But ultimately, any of those contingencies that are not, used during the construction project, which all will be approved by this committee, will be returned 100% to the town. So I think that's something too, when people compare the completed cost of the project, right? That project was bid and procured close to, a year and a half, 2 years ago at this point. The cost for these projects are projected out a year and a half, 2 years from now. And you're experiencing 3 or 4 years of escalation when you compare the two. And then we have a lot of contingencies that are built in appropriately to ensure that there's no need after the appropriation to, ever request additional money. So, process is well done. I think a lot of the cost containment strategies that are tried and true and that are part of all the projects you guys do. That's something I think we really should try to push out to the wider community. I think this conversation, I wasn't sort of, I was thinking this might be a short meeting, but this is a really important discussion here about, how this project's going to be managed, how the scope is going to be managed, and all the efforts to keep it on schedule, on budget. So I think in the days ahead, even maybe prior to the September 30th vote, I think it'd be important for people to hear that. Yeah, absolutely agree.
Anybody else? So next steps, we've got the vote coming up. We have a meeting scheduled after that, at which point we'll
Yeah,
have
the ninth, I believe.
contract back from Chad.
Yep.
So we'll make sure we
Okay.
do those and get those circulated to everybody. Alan, do you want something, Alan?
No, I'm good.
No.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay. Cool. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So the motion was made by Josh. It was seconded by Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna roll call. What are those?
Yes.
Josh,
Yes.
Yes.
Armin, yes. David,
Yes.
Julie,
Yes.
we are adjourned. Unanimous.
Thank you, everyone.